This playoff season, there's only one place where we'll bet, Fanatic Sportsbook. Yes, they're our presenting sponsor, but it doesn't make sense to bet anywhere else if you're a sports fan. When you bet, you earn fan cash, win or lose, which means that your bets get you closer to accumulating fan cash for authentic jerseys, hats, memorabilia, and more. Winning hits different with fan cash. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut residents call 800-789-7777. Massachusetts residents call 800-327-5050. New York residents call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland residents visit mdgamblinghelp.org. All right, welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatic Sportsbook. I am here with Benjy Ritholtz. I'm looking forward to getting his thoughts on what we just witnessed in a moment. I just want to start out by commending the Boston Celtics. That was a championship team, showing you why they were a championship team less than 12 months ago, losing their best player, their most important player, and their two best remaining players, I would argue, came through with, for Jaylen Brown, as good a game as I have ever seen him play against the Knicks, 12 assists. He was everything his team needed him to be tonight, filling in for Tatum in ways that we don't always think he's capable of filling in for Tatum. And then Derek White just absolutely a shot-making extravaganza on top of everything else he does. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, big games for them as well. And really, it was more than just them being down Jason Tatum. They were down two of their top six because Kristaps Porzingis played 12 minutes and was a minus 12 in that time. So absolutely outstanding stuff from Boston. I want to get that out of the way. Nobody wants to hear about the Boston Celtics. As far as the New York Knicks go, I guess the only thing I have to say is shame on us. Because I know I went into tonight thinking that, hey, this team looked pretty damn good in game 4. This team saved their best for last. This team played the best game that they've played all season in game 4. It looked like they had finally put the nonsense period of their season behind them, and they tricked me. They tricked me thinking that what had come in the 91 games before was behind them, and it was going to be, hey, we may not win every game from here on in, but you know what? We're going to go out and we're going to play with our heads, and they always play with their hearts, but with our heads as well, and not leave our fans necessarily with things to be pulling their hair out over. And look, it's a 20 whatever point loss. So I don't know how much, and the Celtics shot the lights out of the ball. I don't know how much any of the stuff that we're going to talk about and any of the stuff that is hair pull inducing would have maybe made a difference tonight. But boy, is it frustrating to watch this team and this coach make the same mistakes that we've been seeing them make all year, especially when they had an opportunity like they did tonight. And that is how I want to start it off, but I will turn it over to you, Benjy.
Yeah, I want to tread carefully because there's a combination here of a desperate team, a very proud team, and a very talented team at home in a 3-1 series. This is not an uncommon result.
Yes.
If you just kind of have a handle on playoff basketball and the flow of series we've been watching for a long time, this is not an uncommon result. The caveat is that Jason Tatum didn't play. The caveat to that caveat is that the Celtics found a pace and a drive, and I mean that with pun intended, and a ball movement that, you can bait Tatum out of. You can make him play slow, you can make him play isolation, and you can make him settle. And that's when the Knicks defense popped, is when they forced Tatum into those scenarios. And Boston came out with a concerted effort, so a very obvious one. We are going to play with pace. We are going to drive the basketball on mismatches especially. We're not going to settle with step backs over mismatches. We are going to drive mismatches, and that leads to rotations and ball movement and catch and shoot threes. The Knicks defense was not ready for that version of the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics have not played that way to this point in the series. They're not better without Jason Tatum. That's a silly thing to say, but they are different, and they present a different challenge, and it is a challenge. That is a talented team who, when they shoot well, can blow you out of the building, as they did in the second half. And the defense, you felt Tatum missing in the first half, I thought. Knicks got to some of their spots easily. I thought some of it was just Kristaps Porzingis being a non-factor. They go to Cornet. He's eating up a lot of space down there. Second half offense was terrible from the Knicks. Part of that goes to the Celtics defense. And so, yeah, this is now a new series. The result is not altogether unexpected, but you are facing new challenges now in this new version of the series that the Knicks are going to have to hit the drawing board here, get themselves together, stop with the defensive miscommunications, understand that there's now pace in the Celtics offense that you need to match defensively with your decision-making, and come out with a better effort in Game 6.
I want to throw it right back to you because that was really good. What for you was the biggest issue for the Knicks tonight in terms of the thing that you thought maybe was a self-inflicted wound? I think a lot of what you just said was like affirmative good stuff from the Celtics, stuff putting the pressure on the Knicks. Did you see stuff tonight that the Knicks have nobody but themselves to blame, because obviously the Celtics have a lot to do with that, but you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think even if the Celtics pace and ball movement and driving force this upon the Knicks, it doesn't excuse the Knicks' failure collectively to match up, communicate, nail the switches when they were there, don't switch when there's a ghost screen. Like, they messed up dozens of those plays tonight. And they are going to need to correct that, especially Cat and Brunson, who were a mess. And when it was Cat and Brunson in an action together, it was almost an automatic open shot. So they need to sort that out. I think they got used to the rhythm of, again, Tatum gets the mismatch, he dribbles out, and now it's a one-on-one. And that's not how the Celtics are going to play now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be into the next action, and it's going to be a drive, and then you got to rotate your rotations. So that's, in terms of I thought the biggest issue was just kind of defensive connectivity, communication on a faster pace that they were dealing with from the Celtics side. And then I'm going to go to the bench. And by the bench, I mean the person manning the bench, the person coaching the team. You cannot let that third quarter happen.
Nope.
That was absurd. I mean, look, we've talked about this all year. The starting lineup is not that good. It hasn't been
together.
That good.
They're not that good together.
It's just not. It hasn't been your best lineup for many, many months. The whole season, it's not your best lineup. So to double down and triple down and stop your foot and say, even though I've seen this third quarter 100 times this season, because we have, when they just don't come out with enough energy, the spacing is clogged because they're playing far off Josh Hart. Even when Josh Hart makes threes, credit to him for making a lot of threes. That's going to help. That's important. I don't want to dismiss the threes. They're important. But they're obviously clogging everything up. I believe the Knicks shot. Hold on.
What are you looking for? I have it right here.
From 2-point range, 17 for 51.
Yep, that's correct.
There was nowhere to go.
33% hit rate.
And that is atrocious. They actually shot the three ball well tonight. They just couldn't make a two in the second half, especially. And you just have to see that coming if you're Tibbs. And after especially with the added nuance that Mitchell Robinson, the closer you get to the bonus, is going to get fouled. Now, he made his free throws tonight. Also, don't want to dismiss that. That's important. But get Mitch in the game early. You know he's the spark. You know he's been your most consistent player this series. What are you waiting for? What are you watching that convinces you that lineup's going to turn things around? That was bonkers to me. You feel the game slipping away. How many 20-point deficits can you make up in one series? So try to stem the tide. And to me, to talk about things in your control, man, sometimes you have to, as a coach, be a little more proactive in trying to change the momentum. I did not think Tibbs did that in the third quarter.
So, I don't know that there is a harsher criticism that I can make than this, which is that watching that third quarter unfold and watching there be no substitutions until hang on, got it right here. Sorry, I have to scroll down for a bit. You may have to, you may have to give me a few minutes here.
It's on page 3.
Yeah, there you go. I had to reload the page a few times because every time you get further, it has to until it was 3 minutes and 17 seconds left in the game in the third quarter. And by that point, it was 87 to 74. Now, in fairness, we can acknowledge that after the subs came in, they did not exactly stem the tide. Like things kept going poorly. That said, what I was going to say before, and I lost track. It reminded me of the 2021-22 season, the Kemba season, for those who may not be accurate with their dates, where we would watch.
Did not think we were going to getting a Kemba reference in this postgame.
Well, you just got it because that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of games where we would be sitting there and we'd be looking at it, and we'd all be seeing the same thing. Perhaps the defining quote of that season was when Stan Van Gundy was commenting on a game and said, "This is the definition of insanity." And we're not at that level because, again, we're 48 hours removed from this same starting five putting together the best third quarter performance of the entire season. But my point that I made during the playback, we have a feel for when it's not going well. And we know from watching this team this year, when it's not going well, when it's going down that slippery slope, that those five do not tend to, at the start of games, sometimes they do, where it's like, okay, they're a little slow out of the gate over the first couple of minutes, and then they'll turn it on, and then they'll start playing better. Doesn't happen in the third quarter, where they all of a sudden something shifts, and then they figure it out. You could sense it was going that way. Again, if he brings in, and the moment, here's the other thing that I want to say. So Towns picked up his fourth foul with 8:40 to go. It was right after Josh Hart went 1 or 2 from the line. The Knicks at that point, once he picked up the foul, Brown made 2 free throws. They were down by 4. That to me, and you were on playback when it happened, and I was with you. I was like, he's not really helping you right now. Like the offense is not helping you. Defensively, obviously, he's not helping you. Take him out of the game, and let's see if you can and maybe catch something here. Bring in Mitch now, and the other thing I would have done at that point also is bringing Deuce in for Hart, because, and then I guess that gets into the Luke Cornett of it all. I'm going on Honda Sports Night in a little bit, and I already got the questions that we're going to talk about. One of them is, how was Luke Cornett able to have such a crazy impact? Luke Cornett played the game of his life, but I thought Josh Hart being out there on the floor was a massive aid in Luke Cornett playing the game of his life.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the strategy. And he had open threes to take. He made a bunch of them. But on every other possession that he's not making it, or they're not passing it to Josh, he's just out there roaming and ready to block shots. And he did a great job of it. And he was incredible. It wasn't just the first effort. It was the second effort or the third effort. He was, look, credit to him. He was great.
Awesome.
I will say that the Knicks just collectively need to finish with more oomph.
Yes.
Like, you have to know, okay, this is a strategy. They have a roamer waiting for you. You can't throw up little soft jump hooks. You just can't. Like, Cat's got to try to dunk the basketball. He got blocked twice with Drew Holiday on him, trying to throw up jump hooks. Dude, you're next to the basket. You got to try to dunk the basketball. I've been saying this about Mikal Bridges for months. He didn't.
Yeah.
I don't think he got blocked. But OG could not finish at the rim tonight. Less because of I thought he tried to get up there and dunk. Sometimes he has these games, OG, offensively. It's hard to explain. He's just an inconsistent offensive player. And sometimes this is how it just goes. I don't know how much I want to analyze about OG's offense. It was really bad, like horrendous tonight. But just generally, they have to try to finish with a real aggression because, yeah, he's roaming and he's ready.
Some stats. I have like 4 or 5. This is all for pivot fade. Knicks in the restricted area. First of all, they only took 9 restricted area shots. Celtics took 21. Knicks 5 of 9 in the restricted area. So the Knicks took 9 restricted area shots tonight. The Celtics took 21 restricted area shots tonight. They both missed the same amount of shots. Celtics were 17 for 21. Knicks were 5 of 9. In the paint, non-restricted area, Knicks were 8 of 21. And then Knicks got 1 dunk tonight, apparently. 1 of 3 on hook shots, 3 of 13 on floaters. And then this is really special, 8 of 17 on layups.
Yeah.
It's not really what you want, Benji. And like, you know, we could sit with like OG, as you said, was terrible. Mikal Bridges, I agree with you, like I thought had some, like, even for him, quasi-obvious opportunities to press the issue at the rim and like attack and challenge Boston's bigs in the first half. And he instead defaulted into mid-rangers and they just stopped going down and he ended up going 4 of 14 from the field. And then like, so Cat's final number, like Cat's, you're going to look at his final numbers and be like, oh, it wasn't Cat's fault. 19 points on 5 of 11 shooting. It was not a strong Cat game at all.
It was not. First of all, 2 or 3 of those buckets came in essentially garbage time. So that's important to note.
Yeah, he was 3 and 9. He was 3 and 9. I remember looking at it. I was like, Cat's 3 and 9. That's not good.
Yeah. Look, it was not a good Cat game. It was an unintelligent, immature Cat game again in the first half. Just some of the fouls are absolutely insane, and he just can't.
The second, I wrote it down. The second foul at the beginning of the second quarter,
he shoved Porzingis.
It was why?
And then the third one, he gets blocked on a terrible 3-point attempt and then grabs White. And it's just, it's just nonsense. And he is forever frustrating for that type of thing. And it is what it is because it seems to be unavoidable for him. But look, he didn't get touches. Obviously, they had Drew Holiday on him instead of Tatum. And they've shown that look before. And if you want to try to enter the ball to Cat in the post there, you have the roamer off of Hart. And so what are you getting out of it? You felt that cramp spacing, but again, a tremendous lack of prioritization of his touches by both coach and point guard.
It was glaring how
you have to run some stuff to get him some post touches, looks, even if you think the spacing's cramped. The third quarter was Brunson dribbling around for 20 seconds every single possession. You can't play that way. It was the worst process from Jalen Brunson I think we've seen since, what was the awful Detroit game? Game 1 or game 2? Game 2.
Wait, which game 2?
Game 2. It was the worst Jalen Brunson process, my least favorite Jalen Brunson performance since that game 2. Just because he dribbled the air out of the ball, especially in the third quarter. Wasn't looking at all for Cat, like wasn't setting up stuff. The first half was better. The ball movement was better in the first half. It was actually pretty good in the first half. I just don't know why they come out in the third quarter and it gets so stagnant. The ball's got to move. We got to run sets. You got to try to find Cat on some touches down low. You got to try to find. They had a beautiful Cat had a slip on an off-ball screen in the first half. I haven't seen that all season. I don't know where that stuff went in the third quarter, but it was abandoned, and the blame pie is equal, I think, to Cat, Brunson, coach. Everyone's got to prioritize him in the offense. They just forget about him for long stretches. It's a problem.
Yeah. It is. I'm like, these openings of these playoff games, we've been going, for a while before we get to super chats. I got to be honest with you, Benji. We want to talk about some positives. You want to talk about Mitch and Deuce McBride, both of whom I thought played really good games.
Yeah, solid.
Yeah. Mitch played tonight 23 minutes, including I mixed it up. I was going to say an extended first half stint. He did play a long time in the first half, but it was Deuce who played the really extended first half stint. 29 minutes for Deuce. I am fairly certain this is the most minutes that he has played in the playoffs, maybe by a significant degree in this year. I know last year he had some crazy playoff games. Yeah, so this year, oh yeah, by far. The next most was he played 22 minutes in game 5 against Detroit. So 29 minutes tonight. Again, some of that was garbage time. Some of that was Brunson fouling out with 7 minutes to go. So maybe I shouldn't even pay too much attention to him playing 29 minutes, but they were both really good tonight.
Yeah. They gave you what I think you expect from them. Mitch had 6 offensive rebounds again. He was at a 20% offensive rebounding percentage. I think he might have gone up, which is nuts. He's rebounding a fifth of their misses.
Wild.
They were good. I've been saying this throughout the playoffs, and it might not happen in this series because they could come out and play a great game 6 and beat the Boston Celtics, which is a tremendously amazing accomplishment if they can pull it off.
Yeah.
But I've been saying throughout the playoffs, I just feel, and it might not be in this series, but it might be in the next if they get there. At some point, a team is going to force them, unless Tibbs refuses, is going to force them to play a 5-out lineup that they never, ever, ever go to. And to actually force a defense to make a decision as to who the center guards, a difficult decision. They never have to make that decision right now. And I don't know when it's going to be. I just have a feeling that they're going to need that lineup at some point, and they haven't shown it at all. And I felt that there were times in this game where it's like, man, especially third quarter, you want Mitch in there, so it's hard to find. I want Mitch in there also, so it's hard to find that lineup considering those two guys come off the bench. But something to think about in terms of if they ever find the minutes for the actual 5-out lineup to try to spring Cat in these scenarios.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like with obviously the 2 fourth quarters and with really the second half, especially of game 4 and some fourth quarters against Detroit. I mean, really, it's just a bunch of fourth quarters and then the game 4, like more than just the second half, like most of game 4. Their offense has just not looked great in these
first half tonight. I thought was good. I mean,
first half tonight was good. You're right.
Tonight was good. The second half was brutal, but first half tonight was good, and I think they lost their verve a little bit on the offensive end. And that's also they're taking the ball out of the net every time. They couldn't get any stops.
Yeah. Yes, and that's a big freaking deal. And I don't know if we've mentioned it. I thought the transition defense early on was not great either. Losing
that's
White.
The pace. That's the pace. They weren't used to that pace, and the Celtics emphasized it, and they just couldn't get matched up, and that's a problem when they don't get matched up. Yep.
Yeah. So, game 6 on Friday. I don't know if we need to have it's not a must win because if you lose, your season continues. It's a must win for Boston.
That it is.
And Boston will certainly play like it is a must win. I like the notion that the Knicks are going to go home and everything's going to be fine because they're going home and Boston's not going to be in the Garden anymore. And no, I don't like. If there's something that I'm hanging my hat on tonight, and I thought I like how the first words out of your mouth tonight, I thought were extremely wise, which is this happens. Even with Tatum down, this happens. Losses happen. Sometimes losses can get out of control. It happens. So you don't want to overreact to one game. For as frustrating as this game was to watch, and my goodness, was it frustrating. This team has yet to lose consecutive games in this postseason. Number 1. And speaking for myself, game 2 against Detroit, game 5 against Detroit, and game 3 against Boston in the series, I have felt after each of those games, not maybe not that the series was over, but it felt in the moment like this team was not capable of getting another win ever because of all of the things that they did wrong and all of the ways that they played poorly. And so I'm going to resist that temptation tonight, even though I think you raise a lot of good points about how the Celtics really found something tonight. And if there was one thing that you would have liked the Knicks to avoid tonight, is to give the Celtics, obviously any win was going to give the Celtics some confidence, but the Celtics know now that they have this formula, even without their best player, that they could go out there and it's going to, like you said, it's going to be on the Knicks to go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, what are we going to affirmatively do to slow them down? Because this notion that Tatum's gone and the Knicks are just going to go and win this series, that's crazy. They are going to have to go out there and earn it.
That's right. Yeah, and the Boston found something. The Knicks now have to adjust to that something, and I think that's a fair. I think the team's earned our respect. And our confidence, at least to some extent. They can rebound, they can play better. They will learn from this, and I think there's reason to believe that Jaylen Brown won't quite do that again. Now there are things the Knicks have to do to slow him down better, but that was some performance, man. Credit to a Finals MVP who I think takes a lot of garbage, and is kind of disrespected a little bit in the discourse for I think the player that he is and can be. So showed you tonight what he was the best player on the floor by a long shot, and the second best player on the floor was Derek White. So
yes, and there was a gap after White.
What is Derek White's? What is in 2 games? He has now made how many threes out of how many threes?
Oh my goodness!
Presumably he's going to miss some at some point, right? Yeah. I don't think it's worth a tremendous overreaction. It's a game 5 when you're up 3-1. The games go this way at times.
14 of 22 from 3. Derek
White. It's 14 of the last 22. That's good. That's good. So yeah, it's just to the drawing board. Now you see what it is. Now you understand what the Celtics look like without Tatum, what they're capable of, the way they want to play. Your turn to adjust, your turn to tighten it up. I think we should have confidence that they can certainly do better than they did tonight, and can win this series and should win this series in 6. So we'll see.
Do you want is it worth mentioning the refs? Do you think where I'm watching 13 for 24 for White. When I am watching enough stuff that the Knicks are doing that frustrates me, even if the refs are complicit in that and nudging the negatives along, I personally have trouble getting too worked up about the refereeing. That said, did it prevent the Knicks from playing better defense in the third quarter? I guess because it was a favorable whistle to Boston. I don't know. Are you gonna be up thinking about the refereeing tonight? I doubt you are. No,
I don't have much to say about the refereeing. I mean, I think the Knicks were often at a kind of a disadvantage. I think that the Boston was getting a step, and then the Knicks were reacting to that step, and that often results in a foul. Brunson had a couple on Brown specifically that they hadn't called, very similar ones in prior games, like when he posts up and kind of leans in and shoots over Brunson and Brunson kind of hits underneath. They've let that go in previous games, and Brunson's gotten stops, and they called it tonight. But look, Brunson's also tripping on guys' feet, and they're calling it pretty much every time. I don't know if those are fouls. That is very far behind the list of issues I had with the game, with the performance.
Okay. I don't got anything else for you, Benji. It was just a frustrating night. Again, should we have expected them to win? I said shame on us for anybody who did expect them, but it's game 5. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. I won't be with you for Game 6. So.
I know. I thought about that as soon as we started, and I'm
Such
like,
a wild thing. Yeah, it'll be fun coming back online too.
Let me.
But listen, I think DJ's had better luck with you anyway. So listen.
Let me say this: the one look, if they lose Game 6 and go to Game 7, and I'm not allowing myself to think about if they don't win this series. Although I'm just not going to go there.
Yeah.
If they can take care of business at home in Game 6, and again, I haven't seen this like confirmed, but it does not seem like them losing this game will impact their rest, because as I was able to read it, it seemed like the Eastern Conference Finals would have started on Monday had they won tonight. All I know is before they lost tonight, there was like the Eastern Conference Finals might start on Monday or it might start on Wednesday, and they lost tonight, and now it's confirmed the Eastern Conference Finals will start on Wednesday.
I'll go ahead and confirm that. So if the Knicks had won tonight, Game 1 of the conference finals would have been Monday. Now that they've extended it to Friday, it starts next Wednesday, no matter what, whether it's in Boston or in New York.
It still sucks. You still open up the possibility of injury. You open up the possibility of them fucking losing the game, losing the series, all that shit. But you go into Game 6, take care of business at home on Friday night. You come out of it unscathed. It's no harm, no foul. So, we'll end on that silver lining.
Love it. Yeah. No one should despair. It's nerve-wracking. It's playoff basketball. It's an opponent everyone should respect, even without Tatum. And they just got to come out Game 6, do their thing. The game tells you what to do. Watch the film, get better. You win or you learn.
Does the game tell you to make a sub when the sky is falling?
Apparently not. Really not.
What about after the second timeout?
No, that was amazing that it came out with the same guys after that. Oh man!
Especially with the play being like, all right, we're gonna ISO Brunson.
Left the starters in there for like 2 minutes too long. OG goes for a dunk that I swore was going to tear his hamstring in half, and thank God it didn't. So
yep. Okay. Thank you. Or is Benji sticking around for this segment? Or
do you want to stick around for betting and sweating, Benji? You want to bet and sweat with us? Let's do it. Shout out to the fine folks over at Fanatic Sportsbook. This is our betting and sweating picks for tonight. Thank you for everybody that tuned in to betting and sweating beforehand. You can check out how John and Jeff J did on their individual picks throughout the scoring system. I got to come up with a scoreboard for the scoring system, by the way, to see how everybody's doing.
We don't need to check any of those picks, I don't think.
I mean, people want to know how people are doing, John. Maybe someone tried to swing with a home run bet tonight. That
let me say this: the one bet that I was most confident in by far was Kristaps Porzingis under 22.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Did he get 2 points, rebounds, and assists total? I mean,
he got 2 total. 1 rebound, 1 point, 1 rebound.
There you go. Okay, so
well done. So our official picks for tonight. If you go to the Fanatic Sportsbook app, you would have seen this. Please download the app, create an account. You win something, win or lose. You earn something, win or lose on your bets, whether it be fan cash or a winning. The 3 picks for tonight: Sean with the W, Knicks +5. Would have won in the first half.
There you go.
Now here's the interesting thing: Jaylen Brown, under 26.5 points. Mensa, when he texted the group chat this morning, said, I'll take the Jaylen Brown under no matter what it is.
Yep.
Okay. Now, Benji, here's the funny part. The under, when he said that, was 25.5.
Oh,
the
my
line
goodness.
moved to 26.5, and
great.
Fanatics granted Mensa 26.5. Jaylen Brown finishes with 26 points exactly. So this hits. Bravo, Mensa.
But Andrew Claudio's bet,
on the other hand,
not so lucky.
So Karl Anthony Towns, who played 29 minutes tonight, went 5 of 11 from the field, 8 of 9 from the free throw line, and 1 of 3 from 3. He finishes with 19 total points in this game. What I picked was exactly 20 points. I went with 20+ points. So I missed by 1 point. My attempt for a home run here apparently was at the warning track. Some losses are at the warning track. Some are swings and misses. But those are our betting and sweating picks for tonight. Earn up to 10% back on your bets, win or lose. Use fan cash on team gear on fanatics.com or bonus bets or profit boosts in the Fanatics Sportsbook app. Stay tuned for exclusive offers all playoffs long. Now, fellas, we have some business to attend to and giving away some fan cash to a lucky winner that participated in our sweepstakes. We'll be giving away $100 in fan cash all throughout the playoffs, at least throughout this second round, I should say. And our winner for tonight, our not betting and sweating, our fan cash sweepstakes, $100 in fan cash goes to @Tejo_1, TAEHO_1. Woo! Congratulations, Tejo. $100 in fan cash coming your way. We will reach out to you to get your information. Me say Teo. I'm sure that Teo has heard this before. Teo's name.
No, it's the first time it's ever heard.
Daylight comes and the Knicks wanted to go home. Apparently, we will be doing this again for Game 6. Unfortunately, Benji, you'll find out who the winner is on Saturday night when the post game is long gone.
That's the first thing I'm going to check.
Yes, check who wins the fan cash contest, not the score. Just check. In fact, you should just watch the post game.
Will it be Opa or Teo?
There you go. Opa or Teo. Oh, different cultures there. So tag Knicks Film School or Fanatic Sportsbook and hashtag sweepstakes on X or Twitter with your Game 6 Fanatics bet slip, and then join Knicks Film School's Game 6 post game show, where we will announce the winner. Okay, we're going to get started with our super chats, if it's okay with you fellas, because Fanatics, as they like to do, they like to send in the first super chat. And here is their Fanatic Sportsbook fan cash super chat for the night. Congrats to our Game 5 winner. On to Game 6 at the Garden this Friday. John let it slip during the monologue that he called Boston the Garden, which it isn't. So on to Game 6 at the Garden this Friday. Plain and simple.
It's actually a duologue.
Yes, monologue. It's not a monologue. It's a duologue, which we found out from your friend, right?
He's very upset.
Thank you for that.
He wants you to change the heading.
So is it right now a triologue?
It could be just called a dialogue. I'm not sure there's a trilogue.
So I should just change it to a game. The thing shouldn't be a monologue. Game 5 monologue. It should be a Game 5 dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just gonna do that. And
if you want to be correct.
Apparently.
Benji, before you go, I'm gonna tell you right now. When I do this spot on the for SNY in a bit, I'm stealing your Bridges free throw stat. Still no made free throws this year against Boston.
I'll allow it. You got to quote me.
They only give me 30 seconds, but
I'm kidding. You don't have to quote me.
No, Benji, if there's one thing John struggles to do, it's credit you or call you out for a stat that you've given.
It's true. It's true. I
only do it 18 times a post.
Yes, it's only synonymous. It's like you and Zach Lowe. It's a rotation at this point. That's the trialogue right there.
There it is. I'm in constant conversation in my own head with Benjy Ritholtz and Zach Lowe.
There you go.
All right. So beautiful. Wow.
I'm out, folks. So Benji, I'll let you say your final thoughts as I make Benji disappear from the screen. We are as effective as the Knicks transition defense tonight.
Oof. Yeah, I don't got much more. No, that's it. John, get to the super chats, enjoy it, and on to Game 6 we go, as the Fanatics folks told us. Later, Pep.
Giddy up. Okay. All right. It's about 40 minutes after this loss. I'm already over it. And for as frustrated or as frustrating as this basketball team has been this year, I am thankful for this. They have prepared me, at least, well for moments like this, because had this not been the immensely frustrating season that it has been, where this team just gets on its bullshit from time to time, I'd be sitting here and I'd be really apoplectic and upset and like, oh my God, how did they lose this game and come out like that with this opportunity at hand, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, no, very much over it and ready to move on, because if this team has shown us nothing, it is that for as much as they are capable of pulling out a true stinker when it would seem like it would be a good time for them to play well, they are also capable of surprising us in a positive way as well. And so I do not think that they will let this loss linger. I do not think that they will come out unprepared on Friday. And it's just a matter of going out and executing and getting it done. Okay. Let's do it. Let's get to the Super Chats. Nick Head starts us off as he's been doing for all of these post games. Let's go Knicks. Yes, let's go Knicks on Friday. Let's hope they give us a better, more complete performance than they did tonight. Busy. What's going on, Busy? Ric Flair voice. I'm not doing a Ric Flair voice. In order to be the man, you have to beat the man. I have to do this. Woo! Is that good? Macri, say it out loud. Eastern Conference Finals. I am assuming this was from before the game. They still have to beat the man. Thanks, Busy. Yeah, 7:52. There you go. Early on. Thanks, Busy. Rafa. Oh, boy. I know Rafa's happy tonight. Out here in the fake garden. Let's freaking go. Knicks. Rafa, I'm sorry you did not get to witness a better performance tonight. Badowski, Burnham Bridges. John, back page. Bloodied heart, eye, curse, shot. Oh, bloodied heart, eye, cures, shot. Maybe. He certainly was better from 3 tonight than he had been in any game this postseason. I think that's good. I think that's helpful. I said it before the series started. I said Josh Hart could go out there and make, I forget what number exactly I cited, 6 of 11 from 3 in game 1. He could do it in game 2, game 3, game 5. I said he could do it the whole series. I did not think the Celtics were ever going to change their strategy. And I think tonight showed you that just because Josh Hart's going to go out there and hit some threes, the Celtics are not going to hit their strategy. Now, at that point, it is incumbent upon him to continue taking them, continue making them. But that is just not what they're going to do for their offense. He is always going to be a last resort. And that's just the reality of the situation. And he made 4 tonight. Didn't make enough to make the Celtics pay for their strategy. Thanks, Badowski. Dennis DeSabato, what's going on, Dennis? So, Nick Cornette blows Boston Cornette elite role player. Listen, the Phil Jackson era did not go great. A lot of mistakes made. Phil did a hell of a job bringing in Luke Cornette as an undrafted free agent. And Luke Cornette was good when he was here. And he's gotten a lot better since he went to Boston. But that's like the sort of guy that if the Knicks were a functional organization at that time, they would have seen that dude and like been like, hey, this is someone that could be like a nice role player for us for the next decade. Because that's exactly what it is. A really, 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 really nice role player. A guy that is now like, hey, Luke Cornette, doesn't matter what he accomplishes in the game of basketball the rest of his life. There's always going to be the Luke Cornette game in Boston. So congratulations to him for that. Thanks, Dennis. Sergio Esquivel. What's going on, Sergio? The refs are letting them play, and by them, I mean the Celtics. Ridiculous. So, look, I knew we were going to get this. I knew we were going to get this on the post game, and I want to be very, very clear on this. If you are frustrated with the refs tonight and you want to blame the refs as a significant reason why the Knicks lost, I am not going to disagree with you, and I am certainly not going to push back. I did think it was a one-sided whistle. And in particular, when the Knicks defended, I thought that the refs essentially disallowed the Knicks from playing physical defense, which, to go back to what Benji said at the top of the show, that if the Celtics strategy is to drive into the teeth of the defense, well, then if you're going to call a tight whistle on one end of the floor, then that obviously makes things very one-sided. I am more focused on what the Knicks can control, and I don't feel personally, again, who knows how the game unfolds if the game is called a little bit differently in the third quarter and going into the fourth. In the moment, I was far more frustrated with the fact that the head coach did not make a substitution than with the refereeing, even though the refereeing was not was obviously not good in that spot. You know, if one of those things is different, if both of those things are different, God forbid, the coach makes subs and the refs are a little bit more fair. Is tonight different? Yeah, maybe it is. Or maybe because the Celtics just had one of those nights from the field and the several Knicks couldn't hit the far side of a barn, maybe it just would have resulted in like a heartbreaking loss instead of a blowout loss. Thanks, Sergio. Deadwards 604. What's going on, Deadwards? Not calling for him to be fired, but that third quarter is why people want Tibbs fired. Mr. Lineup data still rolling with the starting lineup through that run is mind-boggling. Deadwards, I ain't got nothing to say to that. I ain't got nothing to say to that. And in that way, Thibodeau is the perfect embodiment, representation, whatever you want to say, of this basketball team. Because, look, there are people that think he just stinks totally and shouldn't be the coach anymore. I would say that most Knicks fans look at Thibodeau and be like, man, that guy does a lot of good. He's a really good coach. He is like very responsible for where the organization is right now, and like and go through several compliments, but then also be like, and he's also the most, at times, can be the most maddening freaking coach on the face of the earth. Just like this team, we could give them all kinds of compliments. Like, think about what we were saying after Game 4. It's the highest of highs. Best Knicks fans have felt in 25 years. You know? And then they come out and do this. Well, head coach. Lots of good stuff. And then you have a moment like that in the third quarter where you're just like, come on, man. We're all watching the same shit. Thank you, Deadwards. Another one from Deadwards. Thank you very much, Deadwards. Sorry. Really souring on Cat. His defensive mistakes are egregious and doesn't seem so gifted on offense when he's getting shut down multiple times in these playoffs. So let me just first point out that Cat in Game 4 was, I don't know about exceptional, but in the second half in particular, he was awesome. Defensively, offensively, shot making, decision making, toughness, all of it. Game 3 against Detroit, awesome. Knicks have played 10 postseason games. He's been awesome or near awesome in 2 of them. He's had other good games. He's had other solid games. And then he's had quite a few games like this. Benji talked about the blame pie. And I agree with the blame pie. It is a third. Brunson, Tibbs, Cat. But, you know, I forget who said it. Maybe one of the ESPN personalities. I don't know. Somebody said it. I heard somebody say it recently, and people have been saying this for years. But if I heard something recently and I'm going to steal it, I always like to at least acknowledge that, like, I heard this and I'm like, oh, the thing I'm going to say, or that this person said. There are a lot of players in the league that like, if they're guarded by someone and you're sitting there watching and be like, all right, well, I guess I get why they're not maybe like they're not getting the ball, right? They're not getting the ball because it's an iffy matchup. But there's a lot of players who be like, fuck that. Toss me the freaking rock and let me go to work. And like, that's not Cat's personality, which is like, I don't want to make that out to be all bad because I genuinely believe he wants to do what is in the best interest of his team. But sometimes the best thing for his team is for him to be a little bit more selfish. Now, also under control and playing within himself and playing with his head and not committing dumb fouls and not committing offensive fouls and being careful with the ball and not, all of the things. So there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot that goes into being an NBA superstar. And I think, Edwards, what you're really nailing here is the same thing that has been said about Cat for the entirety of his time in the league, pretty much, which is that he's an incredibly gifted player. If you utilize him the right way, he can help you win a lot of games, and including playoff games. And, he shows you enough defensively that you could convince yourself, like, hey, maybe we can figure this out with him defensively. But the consistency, and specifically the playoff and postseason consistency, is such that you cannot call him a superstar. He is an all-star level player. He's an all-star player. He's an all-NBA talent. But it's stuff like this that will always prevent him from being in that conversation, even though his numbers and his accolades say that he should be in that conversation. Thanks, Edwards. Hush Zoo. Deserved loss, played with no care or urgency outside of heart. Cat is slowly losing me. His antics are just so absurd. This is so annoying. Yeah, I think annoying is a good word for this game. Annoying. I don't know. I thought, did they play with urgency in the first half? They could have played with more urgency in the first half. I don't even know if urgency is the word that I want to pick for the second half. Yeah, I mean, urgency, poise, execution. I mean, just execute. Just execute. And that was missing. That was missing. Thank you, Hush. Another one. I could see this going 7 now. Hush, I really hope not. I don't want to open that door. Which is why I, again, Friday night, not a must win, but do you really want to open the door to being one of the, whatever it is, 13 or 15, I forget how many it is. And then on top of that, have the designation of being the team that blew the 3-1 lead after the opponent's best player went down with an injury, then you're in your own conversation in NBA history as far as, bad stuff. We don't want to go there.
No, we certainly do not. But you're going to go to SNY. So everybody, if you want to simulcast and put John on a second screen on your televisions, you can see him on SNY later tonight on Honda Sports Night. That sponsor has changed. I've been watching.
Yeah, it's Honda Sports Night forever, and it should be at about 10, 15 minutes or so.
Okay. So shout out to John. Benji and I are going to take the keys for a little bit as John leaves the screen and Benji goes back on the screen. Okay. Benji, hi. How are you, sir?
Andrew, you okay, man?
Yeah, I'm okay. What would I do?
Putting on the wrong people on the screens.
I'm again, as effective as the Knicks.
You're like OG Anunoby tonight.
Yep, man, not wrong. All right, Kev, what's next? JD, OG had scored 5 points in has scored 5 points. Man, I am OG tonight. OG has scored 5 points or less in 3 of the 5 games. Is that bad, Benji?
It's not what you want.
I'll say.
Yeah, man.
Does he look healthy to you? Do you think it's a health thing, or is it just poor play?
I think it is. They are prioritizing not losing him at 3-point line, and they are not helping off of him. So he's not getting very many clean 3-point looks, and therefore he's kind of relying on contested ones, which he'll make sometimes, but those are tough shots for him. And then his drives to the rim are always like a little bit clunky, and with a lot of help waiting for him right now, he's not finishing anything. So we haven't seen any of those early seals in transition I'm not sure there's a matchup that he really likes down there on this team. Maybe Pritchard if he had that matchup, but like even Derek White's going to fight him. So I think it's just a tough series for him in terms of matchups. And then the Celtics are keying in on him on 3-point line, and then he needs to play better. So I think all those things.
Thank you, JD. Oh, another one from JD. Well, the Towns honeymoon phase was fun while it lasted. I knew it was too good to be true. Sad to see all his warts coming out on the grand stage. Is the honeymoon phase over for you with Karl Anthony Towns?
There's in my Menjies, there were a bunch of like, I missed Julius Randle's and I missed DiVincenzo's. And
real quick, what did you give Karl Anthony Towns tonight as a grade?
D, I think a D or a D plus.
Sounds about right.
Man, can we relax? Like, you are up 3-2 on the Celtics. Nobody thought you'd be up 3-2 on the Celtics. Before we start like ending honeymoon phases, like this team is a game away from the conference finals. You gotta take care of business. This is not a, like, to me, if it is to you, I meaning you, JD, or any fans out there, like if this is a shocking result to any of you, like I don't think you had a full grasp of like what this opponent is and who they are, even without Tatum. Like, this is a really good basketball team. It's a well-coached basketball team. If they hit a hot shooting night, they're hard to stop. They did all those things, and now you respond. And we don't have to get into like ending honeymoon phases or changing the roster when this team is once again a single game away from a conference finals. What do you think there, Andrew?
Cat has been frustrating in many ways this series. I continue to wonder if their best their best offense or their best lineups aren't. I know what the data says. That they're at their best when they go to Mitch instead of Cat, because they can put Brunson and 4+ defenders out there. It was also very notable to me that Mitch was on the floor during the comeback of game 1. Mitch was on the floor during the comeback of game 2. Mitch was on the floor for almost the entire fourth quarter of game 4. And it's when he came in for Cat and Tatum no longer had that thing to pick on. The small sample size of the playoffs will always, if you're getting, I miss Julius Randle comments. I remember the Julius Randle comments after
right, but also some of those Mitch minutes were with Cat, and they played really well together. And I don't think Cat's net rating is bad in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure it's one of the better ones on the team.
In the playoffs, yes. I'm more specifically talking about this series.
Yeah, the series is and I thought he was good in game 4, and I don't blame him for all of the issues that he's having offensively. I do think there are game plan issues. I think Brunson sometimes loses focus on him. So yeah, he's a frustrating player. Don't get me wrong, and we always knew that from the moment they traded for him. He is a frustrating player who is tantalizing and doesn't always fulfill his potential, and can not fulfill his potential because of silly stuff that just bothers you. But he's had a really good season. He's had some great playoff moments. And for all we know, he's going to have a great game 6. Wouldn't shock me. So let's take a deep breath. It is a game. You're up.
As far as any honeymoon phases, you know what would be a great second honeymoon if you want to enter back into it, JD? Let him take advantage of the Pacers for 6 or 7 games. Like, I think that's actually a great matchup for Karl Anthony Towns in that series. So, Knicks have to win one more game though, and hopefully they can do it on Friday. Thank you, JD. Ben, do you read this one?
Dr. Harmon Parmar. How are you, Doctor? This loss is on Tibbs. Oh, keeping hard out there, allowing Luke to be camped in the paint and blocking everything in the third.
So Sean and I actually did get into this on playback about, is this loss on Tibbs? And I was like, it's not why they lost, because like Bridges didn't play well, OG didn't play well, Cat had poor play. They were in foul trouble the entire, like Brunson had 5 fouls in the third quarter. Like, that's just insane disparity. I thought a lot went wrong, as well as Tibbs didn't do anything to mitigate the sky as it was falling, like to put a roof up. So where do you? Sean was leaning the other way. Like a lot of the things you're talking about improve or get better, or we get at least to see what it looks like if Mitch comes in for Cat, Deuce comes in for Hart at some point in the third quarter when they're down 7 rather than when they're down 14. So where do you stand on this?
I agree with the second sentence in Doctor's super chat. Like, yeah, it was insane in the third quarter. It would take something insane for me to say a loss by 20 is on Tibbs. Because that implies the assumption that had he made subs, they for sure would have won the game, which is an insane assumption, frankly. One of the first things I said when I got on this postgame, he needed to sub in earlier. I'm with you. You also have to deal with the reality that it got worse, not better, when he finally did make the subs. You have to contend with that. So to say the loss is on Tibbs is many steps too far for me. But was it a good Tibbs performance? Did I think he put them in the best position to win at all times in this game? I did not. No.
This is where, to your grade book, if you go to Coach's Corner and you want to evaluate Tibbs, like there'd be many. This would be a very long section, you know. And I don't want to misrepresent Sean. He's been one of the people that's always said, like players have agency, and like at the end of the day, a coach can only do so much. I agree with both you and Dr. Parmar that anything that could have been done differently to shake things up wasn't done. Yeah. It doesn't. I don't think automatically if Deuce and Mitch come in, OG starts hitting shots, or Mikal starts hitting shots, or the Celtics start missing shots. But I do empathize with anybody that's like, I would have loved just to try something different in that spot. 100%. But I am with you in that this isn't on Tibbs. It's just not it's a bad loss that's on his resume because you gave away a playoff game when you could have at least been in it in the fourth quarter with the clutch player of the year. So thank you, Doctor.
Drew P. Again. Thanks, Drew. If Josh starts again, I'd fire Tibbs.
Before game 7.
Listen, the Nuggets basically did it. I understand his toughness.
Also, Johnny Bryant's free. Like, he's got nothing to do now. He can coach game 7. Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson, the hero of the world, the best coach of all time. If only we had Kenny Atkinson.
We need to get past our Mark Jackson, you know.
Bunch of freaking softies over there. They don't guard him, and he cannot guard any shooter. White threes and Cornet blocks on him.
So I do agree with the evaluation of like Josh. I think Josh Hart should start game 6. I mean, if you were going to make a starting lineup change, you probably should have done it already. I do agree with like the why of the Cornet issue, which you've said. We were saying it in the moment. Like the reason Cornet's able to do all this was the treating Josh Hart like they did Precious in the regular season. Like you're just not forcing him to guard anybody. Now Josh hit 5 threes tonight, but it took away everything at the rim for the Knicks, which is like John read the numbers. They only took 9 shots in the restricted area, but Cornet was also able to be a force because, you know, of what the Knicks were. So what is your thought on this, Benji?
I don't think it's crazy to start Mitchell Robinson. I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's crazy. Would I fire Tibbs because he didn't start Mitchell Robinson in game 6? No. There might be other reasons why I'd fire Tibbs. If they lose the series, I might fire Tibbs.
I think
yeah. And even whatever. We're not going to get into a whole Tibbs conversation. This would not be the reason I would fire him because he didn't start Hart, because he starts Hart in game 6. And I would say when we evaluate this stuff, it is correct to recognize that Cornet is helping off of Josh Hart and therefore clogging everything up. It is also, you can't dismiss 5 made threes. That is a lot of made threes. That is 15 points on the board from them leaving you and you making them pay. Now, how many points are you losing because of Cornet's help? That's a tough calculation. It's probably true that more than 15, but like 15 is a lot. And that's good work from Josh Hart. And you don't just dismiss that when he's shot really well all playoffs. Like he has made people pay. And he's done a lot of great work in this postseason, including driving a huge run in the third quarter in game 4. So it's one of these things where, trust me, I fully recognize the limitations he might put on your offense and where the difficult positions he puts his teammates into. as someone you can theoretically help off of. But when he's actually making them pay, and when he is more times than not doing a lot of things to help you win around the edges, I don't think it's as easy a decision as people are making it out to be. And that's before you get into like the politics of it. But just like from a basketball standpoint, I don't think it's that easy a decision. I think Josh Hart has been very good in the postseason, and I think net he's contributed to winning.
Thank you, Drew. My turn. Oh, Kev's getting all the anti-tip stuff out with John Gahn. I love it. Riyad Raheem, horribly coached third quarter, which I agree with. Are we going to wait for full implosion before putting Mitch in? JB's process tonight was ass. Yeah, it was a big old ass indeed, Raheem. We've been saying it since it was happening. We said it after the game. You guys highlighted it in the dialogue. He waited entirely too long to make a sub and had ample opportunities when Cat picked up a fourth foul, when you called a timeout down 7, when you called a timeout down 13, and you waited until 3:17 to make that sub. Benji, what say you?
Yeah, I totally agreed on the third quarter. And JB's process, I would say more in the second half, and I guess third quarter because he barely played in the fourth, was terrible. I thought he stagnated the offense. I thought they stopped running sets. I thought he dribbled the air out of the ball. There's one particular possession where they came out of a timeout and he literally dribbled for 23 seconds before taking a step back three. He's got to keep the ball moving. This was his worst process game, I think, since Detroit game 2. And as he has shown us before, I fully expect and think you all should expect too that he comes out in game 6 with a classic JB performance.
Every time Jalen Brunson's had like a bad game, he's then returned with a great game. The next one, I don't remember back-to-back bad playoff games from him. He was kind of silent the first 2 games, but still was like clutch player of the year when it mattered, but as far as a stinker like this, and I know you and John didn't make anything of the officials tonight, and that's fair. And I don't think the officials are why the Celtics won tonight. They got in the penalty with 9 minutes left. They shot 20 free throws in the third quarter, and Jalen Brunson, 5 of his 6 fouls were in the third quarter. Like, you could tell me how they're playing, like Brunson's a weak defender, but like that's not common.
No,
not a common way a game is officiated when there is contact on both ends too,
Yeah, no, I get it. They're in Boston. I don't think they'll get that whistle in the Garden game 6. So yeah, I don't have much to add, but yeah, it's that was frustrating. There was a lot of free throws.
Mm-hmm.
Was a lot of free throws.
Yeah,
they happened to miss a lot of free throws, but there were a lot of free throws.
Yeah. Thank you, Raheem.
Brett, George Brett. Why are the starters still in this effing game? Ooh, this must have come during the fourth quarter. They shouldn't have been from about, I would say, the 5-minute mark, give or take. They should have been out. That's my opinion. What do you think, Andrew?
Is there anything to see? No, there isn't. No, they should have been out of the game. I was going to say, is there anything to what happened in game 3 where Tibbs kept his starters in too long then too, but as a result, Missoula in a 30-point game also kept Tatum and Brown and Horford and Pritchard. And like, as you're running up miles on your guys, you are running up miles on their guys too. The reason why I'm less inclined to buy that tonight is because the guys you're running up miles on are like 2 of them are backups anyway. Like Luke Cornett, you're just like you got him up to 26 minutes. Peyton Pritchard ended up playing 39. He's probably going to average about 35 the rest of the series. So I that is my thought there. That they absolutely should have been taken out of the game.
Yeah, you got Tatum to rupture his Achilles already. What other breaks are you expecting here? So, yeah, they should have been out of the game. And had anyone gotten injured, that would have been very bad.
Yeah, especially on the Knicks end. Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. Thank you, Brett. Guy Huber, then.
Guy Huber, then.
I'll let you read this one.
No, you do it.
Oh, it's my turn. I genuinely can't with this team's antics, process, and lack of focus and gameplay on nights like this. I don't even know who can be blamed. Everybody? ? I think we properly assessed the blame pie. Like Tibbs has a giant slice. Whole roster has I mean, maybe you want to exclude Mitch from that, you could. But they all have a different slice.
Deuce would have a very small slice of Eddie.
Yeah, Deuce would have a small
and
slice.
Mitch would have maybe no slice.
So it's the starters, 5
starters.
starters.
Everyone else can take a mouthful. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, if you want to just like the Celtics made a lot of shots tonight, like they're 22 of 49 from 3 in this game. Derek White, as we mentioned, he's 13 for his last 24 from 3 over the last 2 games and had 34 points in this game in 40 minutes. So it's a combination of a desperate team trying to win one for their fallen superstar and every issue that you're talking about and that has been talked about for the last hour and 10 minutes tonight, for sure. So thank you, Goober, then.
Phrase Vader.
There you go.
Phrase Vader. Thanks for the contribution. I believe it was Sean with a W who said, quote, "This team never takes the path of least resistance."
That's what it says.
I thought it was gonna be like Old English, but I think it's just a typo. This team never taketh the path of least resistance. Yeah, they don't. No, it is usually a grind. They're gonna try to get you to a close game in the fourth quarter and then do what Brunson does and what Bridges has been doing. That's probably a result of a general feeling that the offense isn't quite maximized where you can really blow teams out with your shooting and offense. And so it does become a little bit of a grind to get these wins. Have the Knicks had a blowout win in the playoffs?
Not this one.
Yeah. So no, it's not easy, but it doesn't have to be easy to get to a conference finals and maybe a finals. It just has to be 5 more wins, Yep.
Go win one more. Sean said this on playback too. If anybody wants to watch our playback, please subscribe to the Knicks Film School Patreon. We post the replay the next day, and you can see Sean said that it would be very much this team to lay an egg in this game and win in 6. And John and I looked at each other. It's like, it'd be very much this team to send this back to Boston for game 7. And then they win in 7. Like that would be the MO of this team. I agree with you. And I said as much yesterday, this team has been begging for us to believe in them. And I think I'm going to start believing in them. And then they put a stinker like this up. And it's like, all right, I'm going to keep believing in you that you can win one of the next 3 games against Boston without Jason Tatum. It would have been great if you did that in the second half today instead. But look, they're up 3-2 on Boston with a home game on Friday. They are in an advantageous position, regardless of what Vegas has, which I'm going to check Fanatics while Benji reads. Well, excuse me, it's my turn to read the next one. Thank you, Phrase V. Ader. Chris Carter. This team, shout out to Chris, by the way, loyal patron, loves our playback watch-alongs, I should say, loves watching our replays. This team is like the inverse Al Pacino in Godfather 3. Just when I think I'm in, they push me back out. That's a great reference. I still think they win the series, but it's hard to take them seriously beyond that. How do you feel about that, Benji?
No, you have to take them seriously. They're up 3-2 against the Celtics with a chance to go to the conference finals. The time to take them not seriously is over. They're serious. Now, that doesn't mean they can't lose the series. And it doesn't mean that they'll beat the Pacers if they get there. But they're serious. Like, we can't just, brush. They won 3 games legit with Tatum. They won 3 games. Can't just, brush that under the rug now because they had a frustrating night. That's not. You should be in because they have earned your respect. If at least that's how I feel. Now everyone can fan how they want to fan, but man, they've done a lot of good to I hope win some people over in terms of what they're capable of. Is it perfect? Are they maddeningly inconsistent at times? Yeah, but no, they're serious. They have proven that to me.
So breaking news from our friends at Fanatic Sportsbook.
Oh.
What do you think the line is for Friday? Well, let me ask you this. Who do you think is favored on Friday?
I would think the Knicks are favored.
Knicks are favored. First time they've been favored since the Piston series.
3-point favorites?
2-point favorites on Friday at home. Money line for the Celtics is plus 115. For the Knicks, it's minus 140. So they're favored. This is the first time they've been favored in the series in a game. I know they're favored to win the series, but they were 5-point underdogs tonight, which Vegas knew something. So
yeah, and I think part of what they knew is that this is just sometimes how a game 5 on the road goes. Like when you're up 3-1. If you get to that scenario, like again, this is not a shocking result for a desperate team. Obviously, an inspired team just lost their guy in their home court, a very prideful team, a champion team. Like, yeah, they're going to come out with everything. And if you're not quite ready to match it, which I don't think the Knicks quite were, yeah, that's how it's going to go. I expect a better performance in Game 6. I'm not saying they're going to win. I do think they're going to win. I'm not guaranteeing it or anything. I'm not an idiot. But I would be very surprised if it's not a better performance in Game 6.
So I'm not going to put out that I think they're going to win Game 6. I think they absolutely can. I think they'll play better because I don't think they can play much worse. Again, we were just struggling to find someone who played well tonight on the starting 5. I think they win one of the next 2 is where, like, I'm not saying like guaranteeing they'll be in the conference finals, but again, it would be very much this team to make us sweat this out the way that it would be a 7-game series having this go back to Boston.
I mean, think about the idea that they were going to win this game. Like, that's basically saying they should have won all 3 games in Boston.
Yeah, it's their first road loss of the playoffs too.
I mean,
some context.
And I'm not saying people shouldn't be frustrated. I hope I have conveyed my own frustration about the way this went, but I think the perspective is important too. That you had a team that played really well and needed to play really well, a desperate team, and all that. So
yeah. Next up, Jason M. Go ahead, you're up.
I'm so glad I just talked about perspective, Jason M.
So Jason M, effing pathetic in a bunch of caps, and it just put the letter F. So I actually don't know what the F and all the stars means. Farted pathetic. Forgetful pathetic. Freezing pathetic. Are you cold? Are you in a cold part of the country? Frenetic pathetic. You tried to rhyme. Fanatics pathetic. How dare you, sir? Fanatics is not pathetic. No, here. Benji and I are both sporting hats.
Jason M.
From the Fanatic store. Sorry.
Do you know you could win fan cash?
Fan cash pathetic. Fan cash is not pathetic. You could win fan cash.
I'm also wearing a sweater. I'm wearing a sweatshirt too.
Oh, look at us. Look at me.
Thanks, Fanatics.
There you go. Thank you, Fanatics. And thank you, Jason. I'll read this one. Hi, Rich. Rich McLeod.
Wait, this should be couch, but the Mets also lost today, so this is anger.
Double whammy for Rich McLeod, who always handles losses well. Love you, buddy. Entitled basketball, lazy basketball, whatever you want to call it. More disappointed in this Game 5 effort than their last Game 5 ever. What the hell, man? So what is the worst effort for you? This one or the Pistons? I say the Pistons because
Pistons Game 5. Remind me what happened in Pistons Game 5.
So that game, they just were stuck in mud. Cat and Brunson played horribly, and the Pistons, like they did in every game that they had the lead in, choked away a lead down the stretch. The Knicks tied it, and that's when Brunson and Josh got hurt on the same play.
Oh yeah,
and Tibbs called his second to last timeout, and then never was able to check them back in as the lead evaporated.
Yeah, that was quite wild. This might have been their worst effort of the playoffs.
I'll say this: it's not even my most disappointing effort of the series. For what it's worth,
there's just a lot of context to it, you know. So I don't know. There's a lot of outrage. I'm not matching it, and I feel badly for our. I get it. No. I get it. I just,
Rich, if the Mets had won tonight, I would have felt better too. It's fitting Benji and I being here together. Let's hope they win this weekend.
On the eve of the Subway Series. Why didn't Soto play tonight?
Good question. I think just a mental health day, like a night off before.
They have a day off tomorrow also?
I'm just as confused as you. I genuinely think it was just to give.
No, sometimes managers do that where they give you 2 days. They like that. That's like a thing.
Yeah, he had just busted out of an 0 for 14 slump.
Intriguing.
With a single the other day. So maybe they were just like, hey, you're not getting hits right now. You're leading the league in walks. That's the Juan Soto thing. But we're gonna give you a day before we give you another day, and before you're welcomed back with open arms to Yankee Stadium on Friday. I'm going Saturday, by the way, to the Subway Series.
That's awesome.
See, maybe this worked out perfect that the Knicks play Friday, because while the baseball watching world will be completely divided in New York, we will all come together to root for the Knicks to win Game 6, and we can all align on that.
It almost would have been cool if it was during the game. Oh, I guess it will be Friday night.
Both 7:00 start times. Believe me.
So that's Yankee cool because the stadium will be united in the stadium for the Knicks. That's actually very cool.
So Knicks win the game on Friday. The entire stadium can erupt with Mets and Yankee
awesome.
fans. So
I love that. That's
Knicks,
very cool.
It is set up for you to have the entire city come together.
Dude, they should pause it if the clock's ticking down at the end of the game. They should put it on the jumbo.
Yeah.
That would
all right, Yankee
so
Stadium.
Sick.
You have one job.
That would be so sick.
There you go.
Ideas.
Friday's also, I don't think I'm doxing him. Friday's also Kevin Danishevsky's birthday. For do with that information what you will, Knicks fans, and especially Knicks Film School fans.
Maybe they'll extend bridges.
Maybe during his birthday. I think he wants a two blue and orange wins. All right, he's back. Thank you, Rich. By the way, thank you, Rich. Mr. Macri joins us back on the stage. John, everybody was totally chill.
I'm sure they were.
How'd they like my stat? How'd they like it?
I didn't end up using it. I went with Towns as my more disappointing player instead of McCall. So I didn't use it. Next time.
That's good.
Gotcha. All right.
Appreciate now you have someone who can match your outrage, folks. Enjoy it.
Yeah, there we go.
Later, Knicks fan.
All right. Thank you, guys. Appreciate both of you. And let's continue with the outrage. Josso focused. Happens every time we celebrate early. Bad D all game. They gave up 127 points. So, yeah, I would say so. Celebrated early. Yeah, Game 4 was a massive celebration against the Pistons. Game 4, obviously, was a massive celebration against the Celtics. I think the difference this game is that with the Tatum injury, you wondered if you, as the Knicks, would be able to capitalize on some level of deflation. And I think that went out the window within the first 5 minutes of the game when, you realized the Celtics were going to come out and give it everything they had, and we're not going to get punked. Or not punk's the wrong word, but get deflated. And when you realize this is not quite the same team that we saw on Monday night. Thanks, Joe. Hayden Freed, what's going on, Hayden? All the talk was Mitch can't play versus Boston, but Cat is the third best center in this series behind Garnett and Mitch. Refs were egregious tonight. Hashtag KFS for life. You know what the funniest part about that is, Hayden? Kristaps Porzingis is the fourth best center in the series. We're not counting Al Horford. That's an interesting conversation. Who's been better in this series, Al Horford or Karl-Anthony Towns? I'd probably go with Towns because he was so good in Game 4. And although I would probably want to look up the stats and really go back and dive into it. But the fact that I have to sit here and have a conversation about, who's been better, look, Kornet had a great game tonight. He's been very good in the series. Whatever. Kornet, Horford. The fact that we're having that's the category that Karl-Anthony Towns is in, A, and B, the fact that he's not in the conversation for the best Knicks center of this series speaks volumes. And to your point about Hayden, I was one of the people that said, I don't know about Mitch can't play versus Boston, but I have repeatedly pointed out that Mitch has not looked good versus Boston in the past. Well, guess what? That's gone. They're better with Mitch on the floor. I'll get the updated stats right now. Hold on, it won't take me long at all. Because the NBA has been pretty good about getting things updated pretty soon. So in this series so far, Mitch plus 26 in 110 minutes. Karl Anthony Towns minus 34 in 168 minutes. Now, that's not fair to Towns because OG Anunoby minus 48, Josh Hart minus 41, Mikal Bridges minus 33, and even Jalen Brunson minus 21. It is freaking wild. It is freaking wild that the Knicks are up 3-2 in this series, and they have been outscored by 35 points. I was going to curse, but I'm like, let me try not to curse. In these 5 games. Wild. And they could win the thing in 6, and they could go win it by I actually at this point I'd be shocked if Friday wasn't close. I would expect a 1 possession, 2 possession win if they win. And then we're sitting here looking at hold on, the team that got outscored by 30 points in the series won 4 games to 2. It could absolutely happen. Could absolutely happen. I know I kind of went off course from what you're talking about with Cat, but your point with Cat is well made. Thanks, Hayden. Hayden with another one. Knicks wasted the Mitch free throw game and the hard 3 game. I had the thought. I actually wrote it down. Here we go. As like my final note of the night. There you go. Hard 3s more than the rest of the starting lineup combined, and then Mitch 6 for 6 from free throws. Yes, you got those 2, but OG 1 for 12, Mikal 4 for 14. Even Deuce ended up going 3 for 8. Again, it was a good Deuce game. And that Towns 5 for 11 and for 19 points. That is the most fraudulent stat line of the playoffs. And it's funny, usually when we get on players or we call players out for empty calories, it's like guys that their buckets don't lead to winning. That's not the case with Towns. It's just I don't know. It was just, I don't know. It was an extraordinarily underwhelming night for him, despite the numbers, and anyone who watched the game, I think, would agree with that. Thanks, Aiden. Brockenstock, thank you for the contribution. Appreciate it. Luyen, what's going on, Luyen? My wife bought us tickets for Game 6 as a Murphy's Law hedge, hoping for the refund, which clearly backfired. But we will still be there screaming our lungs out Friday night. Let's effing go, Knicks. Man, I hope you guys get to have a party. I hope you guys get to party like it's 1999 or 2000 if you want. But 1999 would be preferable because they won in the conference finals that year, but both 99 and 2000, both of those conference finals were against the Indiana Pacers, as was the case in 1994. Kind of funny that the last 3 conference finals the Knicks have been in have all been against the Indiana Pacers, and now if they make it to this one, it would be 4 straight conference finals against the Indiana Pacers. How about that? Thank you, Leon. Anthony Sixto, what's going on, Anthony? I know the thing is to focus on what they could have done better, but don't know how many teams that endure the way the third was called. When's the last time a star has had 5 fouls called on him in 1 quarter? Hashtag Nixon 6. Yeah, I kind of want to go back and just rewatch all the Brunson fouls. Were they all fouls? Yeah, they were probably all fouls. But to your point, A, stars don't usually get whistled that way. And B, that's not how the playoffs have been called so far. It's not how this series has been called so far. So why now? Why now? Thank you, Anthony. Dom Cappuccini, very generous of you, Dom. Thank you on such a crummy night. Weird team, John. Fucking weird team. Just when I get the vision, these guys remind me that maybe one more superstar could be necessary. I don't know what it is up and what is down. Let's go Knicks. That's the personality of this team. It's who they are. And I think if you want to try to make sense of it, for me, I'm going to go back to it's very rare that a team is put together in one summer. And again, this team was kind of put together this summer. Cat, new. Bridges, new. Payne, new player. And, Sims, bigger role when he was here. I mean, we had a Huck Porty moment. Precious was around last year, but like midseason acquisition, so, and OG midseason acquisition. So like, it's a relatively new team. And I think if you're being optimistic, that's what you're chalking it up to. There's X's and O's stuff too. We've been talking about it for 7 months, but I don't need to bore you with those details. Maybe inconsistency is kind of going to be baked into them because of how they play and who these personalities are. I don't know. After 11 playoff games, can I sit here and be like, yeah, they definitely need a new superstar or a different superstar or another? Like, I can't sit here and say that. I think the jury's still out on whether this core can climb the mountaintop. But the notion that they need to go get, as you say, one more superstar, I don't see that as. I don't think that's it. I'm not there. I'm not there, but that's me. I might be there. Talk to me on Friday. How about that? Thanks, Tom. Ja with another one. Boston found something without JT with the ball movement and the defense. The Knicks defense was putrid, but some of that was by design. Not excited for what's next. Nah, that's a little bit too harsh, Ja. Look, everybody should be excited heading into Game 6. I'm excited heading into Game 6. I'm excited for the opportunity. I'm excited to put this game behind us. Am I going to be nervous? Of course I'm going to be fucking nervous. We'll all be nervous. And yes, the Celtics did find something. Benji talked about it on the opening dialogue, excuse me. But they found something. Now the Knicks saw what they found, and now it's up to the Knicks to counter what the Celtics found and throw some wrenches into their machine, just like they're always throwing wrenches into the Knicks machine. This is what playoff series are. You don't usually get a major adjustment of this magnitude 5 games into a series, but then again, you don't always get a season-ending injury to the other team's best player 5 games into the series. Incredibly gutty win by the Celtics. The ball's in the Knicks court. That's all there is to it. Thanks, Joe. Hussu, can we guard White like he's Curry for a game? I'm so tired of seeing him having a 3-point shooting practice on us. Can we just win this series? Damn, man. Yeah, no, I think we're all there. Like, you were gritty. You were gutty. You pulled out 2 insane wins. You pulled out a 3rd win in which you played the best basketball of the season. You got this. I hate to refer to it as this in this way, but there's no other way to refer to it if you're being honest with yourself. You got this gift with this Tatum injury. Terrible for the game, terrible for the Celtics. Nobody wants to see it. It's still, if you're the team that's playing the Celtics and this happened to the Celtics, it is a gift. You can't squander this opportunity. You just can't. And yes, guarding White like he's Steph Curry would be a good start. Here's the thing. Boston's offense, and they've been doing it for years, and they've been honing it for years, which is why they could do it so effectively, is designed to get these looks. They do this. They do this against really good defenses. And the Knicks are not a really good defense, even though they've played like it for a lot of this series. They really have. They've played like a good defense for a lot of the series, but got to be better. Thanks, Hush. Robert W. Cross, first time, long time. It's your boy, John. The plus side is there's more super chats, but it was always hashtag Knicks in 6. I would have been so freaking happy to be off until Monday. I think the Knicks would have been happy to be off until Monday. I would have traded, I don't know what Super Chat's going to look like on Friday. I would have traded every one of them for a win tonight, happily. But, yeah. Appreciate all the contributions. That's it. Thank you, Robert. JD, what's going on, JD? If Tatum was never bored, would the Celtics be favored? No. So I did think about that today. And I thought about, like, maybe I thought about yesterday, today. If the Celtics just didn't have Jason Tatum, like, what would they be? Would they be a 50-win team? Depending on how healthy Porzingis was, yeah. I think they'd be a 50-win team in the Eastern Conference. Like, let's say Tatum had missed this whole year. I think they're probably still a 50-win team. I think they probably could have challenged the Knicks for the 2 seed in this case, right? Because, I think the Knicks would have been favored coming into the series, but I think it would have been viewed as like, look, think of the Knicks last year. The Knicks lost Julius Randle. Now, to be very clear, Jason Tatum is a better basketball player than Julius Randle. But, a lot of people still had a lot of faith in the Knicks because they still had Jalen Brunson, and again, Jaylen Brown, is he Jalen Brunson? No. But as you saw tonight, it's pretty damn good. So, like, this team's still good, man. This team's still good. Really good. Thanks, JD. Knicks going to have to earn this. TJ2K, positive spin, chance to close out at home. #1 to go. Yeah. I look, I wasn't going to be in the building anyway. I'm not going to be in the building. I mean, I just wanted to win games, but sure, I'll take the silver lining. Thanks, TJ2K. Luyen, in the words of the immortal John Andres, extensive garbage time. That was a Boston accent. That was no, I can't. I'm not going to do John Andres justice. I loved listening to John Andres. John Andres and Marv Albert were the first, first broadcast team that I ever listened to. They were incredible. Andres was just great. And Marv would say, garbage time too. He had a way. I'm not going to impersonate Marv. But yeah. Thanks, Leon. Ja with another one. Would like to know what the line was for Boston plus 25. I actually looked up Boston winning big tonight. I almost placed a bet on the Knicks winning big and a bet on the Celtics winning big. Now, that said, the bet that I looked at was 26 or more. I would have been pretty upset if I had put money down on the Celtics winning by 26 or more and they won by fucking 25. But no, I wasn't going to do that. Yeah, you could have gotten, I think it was probably 20-1, 30-1, something like that. It was good odds. It was really good odds. I think 20-1 maybe. Thanks, Joe. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kevin? Happy early birthday to you. Really think a starting lineup change is in order. Not the reason we lost, but bad stuff from Tibbs in that third quarter. Pretty clear he gets the axe if we lose the series. If they lose the series, I would say right now, if they lose the series, I would say he is not the head coach next year. And I will leave it at that. I don't want to think about that. I don't think even you want to think about that, Kev. I want to think about winning the series. Do I think they will start the change the starting lineup for Friday, being up 3-2 in the series? I do not. Do I think they should? I don't. I think the starting lineup was so good the other night in Game 4. And they were pretty good in the first half tonight. Like, they weren't, maybe not pretty, they were okay. They were okay in the first half tonight. But look, got to do a better job. Got to do a better job. He did not, like everybody else on the Knicks, he did not cover himself in glory tonight. Thanks, Kev. Russ Guberman. What's going on, Russ? According to Ewing theory, it's entirely possible that Boston plays better without Tatum. We'll see if Hauser and their bench heroes can keep it up at MSG. Yeah, I mean, Ewing lost after game 2 of that conference finals with the Knicks tied 2-2. They went on to win 3 of the next 4 games. Patrick Ewing was obviously an immensely important player still for that team, even at his advanced age. That said, Marcus Camby ended up being the best player in that series. Marcus Camby, I don't think gets that same opportunity if Ewing doesn't go down. You know, you want to tell me that the ball's going to be in Jaylen Brown's hands more now and that he's going to outplay what Tatum was doing? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if look, could Boston win the series? Absolutely. If they keep playing like they did tonight, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Especially if the Knicks keep playing like they did tonight. Absolutely. But, you know, we'll see. If I have to listen to Bill Simmons talk about Ewing theory with the shoe on the other foot, it would actually be painful for him because he loves Jason Tatum. So I don't know how we'd handle that. I would puke. Thanks, Russ. I am AK Legend. Wasted a game. Fuck Boston. So disappointing. That's my thoughts exactly. Just a very frustrating night. Very annoying night. Frustrating night. And yeah, they wasted an opportunity. They didn't give themselves a chance. I am AK Legend. You know, they didn't give themselves a chance. You know, if you hang around 10-point game even in the early fourth quarter, you give yourself a chance to make a run. They didn't give themselves a chance to make a run. That's the worst part. Thanks for that. Robert Cross with another one. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Plus side of game 6 is more time and cohesion. Hashtag Knicks and 6. Yeah. No, I think that ship has sailed this year. Whatever they are, they are. You know, it wasn't that they played great in game 4 because they had 91 games to build up to it. They played great in game 4 because they just played great in game 4. And they showed that they're capable of it, which is a good sign, which means they're capable of playing great in game 6. You know, but like the consistency, you know, that I don't think we're getting that. Not this season, at least. Thanks, Robert. Jason Kirsch, what's going on, Jason? How are you? Boston earned this game, but Tibbs did everything he could to not give the Knicks a shot. Third quarter lack of subbing is insanity move. Someone needs to introduce Brown to Grinder so he stops grabbing. I don't know what to do with that. Tibbs was an accomplice tonight. You know, you want to say the refs robbed the Knicks a little bit? Okay. You want to say the Knicks players robbed themselves of a chance a little bit? Okay. Tibbs was either the accomplice or he was the mastermind of the scheme. Whichever you prefer. Not a good night for Tibbs. Thank you, Jason. Rafa with another one. Needed brothers and Ed Malloy to win. Knicks in 6. Yeah. You know. It helped. I just hate blaming the refs. I'm not saying you're wrong, Rafa, but I just, yeah. Go play better. How about that? Jibo, what's going on, Jibo? We let OG off the hook games 2 and 3. Tonight, 1 for 12. So, no, we could have an OG and an OB conversation. In this series, OG Anunoby is now shooting 42% from the field, 42.4%. He's at 35.7% from. Wait, no, this isn't right. Hold on. No, this can't be right. Hold on. This has to be for the whole playoffs. I'm looking at some crazy 3-point numbers. This is the NBA is broken. NBA stats page is broken. Okay, hold on. Let me get some. What is this? This is like per 100. Okay. OG's not shooting great in the series. Let's just leave it at that. He has not been good enough. He needs to be better. He was 1 of 11 tonight. Earlier in the series, he went 2 for 9 and 1 for 6. Great in game 1. Great in game 4. Terrible offensively in the other 3 games. So a 2 out of 5 ratio is not going to get it done. Thanks, Chibo. Spencer from the West. What's going on, Spencer from the West? Much blame to go around and don't want to panic, but it starts with Tom Thibodeau. Great example of Josh Hart playing great but ruining the offense. Telling that Tibbs' best games this postseason correlates with Josh Hart foul trouble. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not fair to say that really with game 4 because Josh Hart was on the floor for the entire third quarter, which is where that game turned, and he was a big part of that game turning. Did I mind when Josh Hart left with his 5th foul in game 4? No. And I was on, I was on the playback to prove it. You go back and watch me. I even said, are we sure this is the worst thing in the world? Which tells you all you need to know. I agree that he didn't. Yeah, I mean, Josh Hart didn't do enough to make up for his negative impact on the offense tonight. He just didn't. Even with all the made threes, didn't do enough. And again, it's not all on him. It's not all on him. It's probably not even mostly on him. But it did happen, and Tibbs has to own that as much as anyone. Spencer from the West with another one. When they start double bigs, and we don't, have to ask what advantages we get in return for their rebounding and rim protection. Don't think we got any. That's a fantastic question. I mean, in theory, you could match up Hunt Horford, which Brunson certainly has done. And he got some good looks tonight, and he missed them. Made a lot of those looks in other times this series. Tonight, missed them. That's about all you're getting. Because, Horford holds up just fine against Bridges and Anunoby for sure. Now, again, in theory, you could try to get Cat match, but here's the thing. This is what pisses me off. There were possessions tonight where Horford was on Cat and they didn't go to Cat. That should never happen. If Horford's on Cat, go to Cat. And there were a lot of possessions tonight where he was, and that didn't happen. That's annoying to me. That's as annoying as anything else. And again, everybody has to own that. Cat, Brunson, Tibbs. Thanks, Spencer from the West. Kento Cato, what's going on, Kento? Pathetic. Pathetic. I hate. That's such a strong word. They lost by 25. 25-point loss when you have a chance to close out a team. Sounds kind of pathetic. I personally would not slap that label on tonight. That's me. If you want to, I'm not going to begrudge you. No show by a lot of guys. Awful process. Don't want a game 7 in Boston with a chance to blow a 3-1 lead. Adjust, play with urgency, win game 6. Look, we've had a lot of game 3 against Detroit was the most important game of the Knicks season. Game 6 against Detroit was the most important game of the Knicks season. Game 4 against Boston was the most important game of the Knicks season. And now game 6 against Boston is the most important game of the Knicks season. They've responded every time. Respond one more time. Thanks, Kento. Mr. Knicks 101. I can't believe Cornette stifled our defense. I can. When he doesn't have to worry about the man he is ostensibly guarding. And what he does on defense, he does extraordinarily well. He is an exceptional rim protector, especially given his physical. He's not the highest leaper, but he gets vertical. And is he smart? And he knows how not to foul, and he's tough as shit. It's everything you want in a backup. I mean, he's really good. He's really, really good. He's a good basketball player. He's a good role player in the NBA. So, but when you play right into it, makes life a lot easier. Thanks, Mr. Knicks. John Leary, a team that lost Tatum and switched less. A team dependent on three-point shooting that should struggle to create them unless you hand them advantages. Yeah, I mean, the Knicks did a really poor job dealing with the screen actions tonight. They did not switch as effectively as they have at other points in the series. The Celtics took them into the paint, and they fouled, or they got called for fouls at the very least, and they did not defend to an acceptable degree. And the Celtics had him in rotation all night. It's incredibly frustrating, and they need to get better. They absolutely need to be better. Thanks, John. Anthony Parino. What's going on, Anthony? Had to figure Boston a farewell game in them. Not worried. This fits the script. Brunson coming with a vengeance in finally a home closeout game. So if we want to go to Brunson, so Jalen Brunson, after losses in this postseason, Game 3 against Detroit, 30 points on 9 for 20 shooting, got to the line 13 times, made 11. Game 6 versus Detroit, 40, including the series winner. Incredible fourth quarter performance from him. Game 4 against Boston, 39 on 25 shots. I think it was the best game of his Knicks career. So he has responded every time. He will need to respond again. It's as simple as that. Sam Garcia, shout out to Josh for being the only one to show up tonight. And therein lies the maddening dichotomy of Josh Hart. Yes, Josh Hart, bloody face and all, went out there, left it all on the court, made a bunch of threes, did, more or less everything that he was capable of doing to try to win the Knicks the game. Only one offensive rebound, but look, it's whatever. And yet, I know I was sitting there in the third quarter being like, we got to get Josh off the court. The offense is not functioning right now with him. And if you want to know why, comments like this, which, Sam, by the way, you're not wrong. Josh came to play. A comment like this, I think, goes a long way in explaining why you get games like this where Tibbs will leave Josh Hart out there, even if it seems apparent that maybe someone who could provide a little bit more spacing should be out there. It's not an easy thing to reconcile. Thanks, Sam. Rick F., thanks for the contribution, man. Appreciate it. Jessica, what's going on, Jess? I will just say thank you again. Again, I don't want the season to end for a long time, but when it does end, I have something to look forward to, and it is thanks to you. For top of the pile of books now. Anyway, I was so disgusted. 7 minutes left in the fourth. I went outside to mow my lawn. I didn't want to see anymore. Let's hope they take Game 6 seriously. Let's go Knicks. Yeah, no, they'll take it seriously. Because you know what? As far as urgency and communication and all that, I think they're going to be locked in. I think they were locked in Game 4. I think they'll be locked in on Friday night. Then again, Game 6 against Detroit, were they locked in? They were until they weren't, and then they were again. I think they'll come out, and I think they'll play well on Friday, and I think they'll win the game. Thanks, Jess. Jordan Miller, what's going on, Jordan? 0 adjustments on offense and 0 timeouts when they went on runs. OG, too predictable in the paint. Towns frustrating again, but disappointed most in the coach. Yeah, the coach should know better. The coach should know better, and he did nothing to help. And just on the OG comment, OG too predictable in the paint. I actually agree with that. I said it during the playback, specifically that once he, if he's driving and he has room to drive, that's one thing. But when he gets there and he has to stop and make a move from a standstill position to score, it very rarely goes well. So yeah, I agree with that, Jordan. Danny McDonald. Cat is an absolute 0. No defense, stupid fouls, and 0 grit. Look, I'm going to push back on that one. Tonight, the defense was poor. He did make stupid fouls. As far as him showing 0 grit, Cat showed a lot of grit this season. And he showed a lot of grit in these playoffs. And I would say tonight was the first game for me where the fouling reached a level where I'm like, dude, that's really not good enough. He's had stupid fouls in the playoffs, to be very clear. Tonight was the first time it reached a certain level for me where it was really, I think you could very, very easily be like, that was not good enough. Given his propensity. Even given his propensity, it wasn't good enough. The defense comes and goes. It's kind of par for the course. Thanks, Danny. Rick F., what's going on? Rick, again. Get this dog up here. You're not a wartime conciliary, Tom. Things could get rough with the move we're making. I don't know what to make out of that, so I'll just leave it as is. Good quote, though. Jesse Daniel, what's going on, Jesse? Brown out here grabbing Brajols, let's say. But 5 fouls on JB in the first quarter. Yeah, or in the third quarter. In one quarter. Yeah. Look, not a fair whistle. I'm guessing from where people are at. It feels like Tibbs and the refs are kind of neck and neck for getting the most blame, followed closely by Towns, followed by OG. I'm a little surprised there isn't a little bit of smoke from Mikal Bridges tonight. 4 for 14. Some shots that I didn't love. Couldn't buy a 3. But maybe after the other night, he's kind of earned a reprieve, which is more than fair. Thanks, Jesse. Mecky, what's going on, Mecky? How you doing, my man? We'll make adjustments to the Tatumless Celtics now that we have video. Need to make earlier subs, too. They won't shoot that well on Friday. Well, 2 out of 3, I agree with you. They will make adjustments, and we need to make earlier subs. I am never, ever, ever going to go into a game against these Celtics assuming that they will just not shoot 48% from 3. They are the most unpredictable team in the world. If they went out there on I'm going to have to say it again because I referenced it the other day I think on the pod. I think I referenced it on the pod with Andrew that we recorded last night. Brian Windhorst has been one hell of a troll with this playoffs with the Knicks. He's not wrong when he said about the Celtics, they lose games you expect them to win, and they win games you expect them to lose. It should not shock anyone if they go out there and they shoot 45 or whatever % again from 3 against the Knicks in Madison Square Garden on Friday, and then they clam up in game, and they win the game, and then they climb up in game 7, and they're just winning game 7 in Boston. I would. I don't know if I'd give a pinky toe not to see a game 7 in this series. I'd give myself some extraordinarily unpleasant paper cuts. How about that, to avoid a game 7 in the series? I don't want it to happen. You never know. Thanks, Mickey. Hush Zoo, in your opinion, why can't this team produce a blowout like the Pacers and Celtics have done in this postseason? Why is every game such a struggle? It's their personality. Their best quality is their toughness and their no quit. You know what you need to produce blowouts? You need a great offense. You need a great offense to produce a blowout. They do not have a great offense. They haven't had a great offense since December. So, yeah, that's my and then just inconsistency. No, not a great offense and an inconsistent defense. You know what that is? Not a winning combination for a blowout. Thanks, Hush. Oscar Lung, remember the last time we had a closeout game 5 win? Off the top of my head? Well, they get in Detroit. No, Detroit. Sorry. No, I meant Cleveland. Yeah, Cleveland. But lost tonight. Played terribly against Detroit. Had that abomination against the Sixers. Beat Cleveland. I can't remember 2000. No, I don't think they had a game 5 closeout in 2000. I forget who they beat in the first round in 2000. Whatever. We're going far back, but Cleveland's the answer. Thanks, Oscar. T. Doyle, what's going on, T? Hey, Macri, first time, long time. I'm convinced Cat could hit someone over the head with a bowling ball and still look around confused at the foul call. Anyway, hashtag Nixon6 and shout out KFS. Thank you, T. I appreciate it. Look, I'm not going to get on Cat for his reactions. Tim Duncan had the Tim Duncan face every time he was ever called for a foul in his whole fucking career, and that's Tim Duncan. Great players just react this way. You know, I'm not saying every great player, but there are great players, great players who react this way to every foul call. I'm more concerned with just not committing the silly fouls. You know, you can react however the hell you want. Just don't commit the silly ones. That's all I care about. Thanks, T. Doyle. Sergio Escobar with another one. Thank you, Sergio. Tibbs can be stubborn and frustrating, yes, but something about even considering what his shortcomings are, what he brings to this team is invaluable. Whatever happens, I hope he gets a chance to get it done here. If they ever blew this series, I think there would be some difficult conversations in the front office this summer. I do not think that they are going to outright fire Tibbs if they ever lost the series. I think regardless of what happens in this series, next round, if they ever made the final, I think there's going to be an interesting conversation to be had about the coaching job this summer. And yeah, thanks, Sergio. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? What's up, fellas? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. As you know, I never wanted Cat. Him and Tibbs do not mesh well. One is too stubborn to either put Mitch in or a true 5 out, and the other is not a dog, which is anti-Tibbs ethos. Again, I think you gotta give Cat a little bit more credit. I think he has a little bit more dog in him than you give him credit for. Go back and rewatch. I'm not telling you have to do this, but I could tell you because I did go back and rewatch Game 4. There was a lot of dog in that dude last night, or in that game. And it's not just that game. It's been other games. I know it doesn't It doesn't look the same as like Isaiah Hartenstein, for instance. But now, as far as meshing with Tibbs and being the right center for Tibbs, and is it a match made in heaven? I think my biggest thing there is I just don't think Tibbs has fully actualized Towns on offense. But then again, how many coaches has Karl Anthony Towns had over the course of his career? However many it is, I don't think any of them could you say fully actualized Towns to the degree that his skill set would seem to indicate he can be actualized, which I think says more about Towns than anything else. I will just say that through 11 postseason games, I'm probably slightly lower on Towns as a, definitive core piece moving forward than I was before the playoffs started. Slightly lower, maybe skewing towards a little bit more than slightly lower. Thanks, Frank. And as I say that, I will point out, dude's a win away from his second consecutive conference finals. John Leary, what's going on, John? A team up 3-2 in the second round have one single lineup play 47.3% of its postseason minutes, and that lineup is minus 7.3 per 100 possessions. Yeah, it's not good. It's wild. The math says that they are winning despite the starting lineup. That's it. That's all there is to it. I went through this. There's a reason why I wrote a whole freaking newsletter after Game 3 saying I think he should change the starting lineup. Thanks, John. Juanon, what's going on, Juanon? 5 fouls on Jalen Brunson in the third quarter. Adam Silver can choke on a fat one. Hashtag fire tips. Again, we got one. I should have been keeping track. Chuck one up in the refs column, Chuck one up in the Tibbs column, Chuck one up in the cat column. And then if you're a super chat like Frank from Patreon, you get multiple columns, multiple checks. No, I mean, it was absurd. I want to go back and rewatch all the fouls, but big part of the story. Kelly Ratu, thank you for the contribution. Mitchell Berger, what's going on, Mitchell? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 93 times. I know we'll be better in Game 6, but it sucks that we're still capable of being this unserious. Yeah, no, it's who this team is. That's why I said I started the postgame show the way I did. Shame on us. Shame on us for thinking, finally, the switch has been flipped. Okay. Next up, we got I think a Boston chat. Roland 24. Boston going to embarrass New York now. Listen, they might. You guys got a great team, even without Jason Tatum. Is it a great team without Tatum? It's not a great team without Tatum. It's a really good one, though. And they deserve the Knicks' respect, and the Knicks better show them the proper level of respect on Friday. Did they not show them the proper level of respect tonight? I don't think that's what it was. I genuinely don't believe that's what it was. I think the Knicks did not respect themselves tonight. Thanks, Roland. Boy, this Warriors game is suddenly getting more interesting than it has any right to. Paul NYC NZ. I don't know what that is supposed to be. We're ending the Celtics season on Friday, slamming their windows shut and sending them to the lottery for the rest of the decade. Fuck Boston. Boston's. This is not the end of the Boston Celtics. If the Knicks do win this series, this is not the end of the Boston Celtics. I would very much like to send them the hell home on Friday. And you know what? Let me say this. Like, games 1 and 2, disaster. I wonder if, like, well, I don't want to say it because I'm either way, whatever happens on Friday, whatever happens if they get to a game 7, if they win the series, whatever. I think at the very least after tonight, like, the Celtics could hold their head high into the offseason. You know, now there's a flip side to that coin. If you take care of business in games 1 and 2, you know, maybe the Tatum injury never happened. You know, I don't know. But, thanks, Paul, NYC. Sam Garcia's dad. What's up, Ray? You've talked me off the ledge. I understand why Boston had a good chance to win this game, but the Knicks should have imposed their will tonight. Nothing good comes from extending the series. The Knicks are not a team capable of imposing its will. That's the unfortunate reality. You know, and if you're looking for a reason why this Knicks team, even if they win this series and even if they, you know, it's a matchup against the Pacers, I think the Pacers are incredibly dangerous. I still think the Knicks, if they get to that series, should be able to win that series. The Knicks are like maybe the one team that can't impose its will. You know, the Thunder can impose their will on defense. Jokic by himself is a will imposer in a way that Brunson just can't quite do because Brunson is 6 feet tall and Jokic is the size that he is, and he's awesome. The Timberwolves can impose their will on defense. The Pacers can impose their will on offense. The Celtics can impose their will on offense. The Knicks, they like the closest thing you get to them imposing their will is like they can impose their will in crunch time because they have the toughness and the metal and Jalen Brunson. But yeah, it's a tough spot to be in if you're trying to win it all. Thanks, Ray. Rich with another one. John, how did you sit in a segment with Sal Licata that long without calling? I won't say that. I thought it was, I think Sal Licata is lovely, and I was very honored to be on screen with him. He's been, let me tell you, you know, if you watch, I guess you watched the segment. So the first question was about who's the person to blame the most. And it was, you know, phrased Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, or Karl Anthony Towns. And Sal gets the first word. And he's like, Jalen Brunson, he's to blame. You gotta be able, like, to make it in the New York media game in the way that Sal has made it, like the personality you gotta have and like the commitment to doing it a certain way, you know, and obviously be knowledgeable and all that stuff. It's just, I have so much respect for the people that do it well, and he does it extremely well. I could never, my God, never in a million years, like bring that kind of, whatever that is, you know, and I respect those who do it and do it well. So shout out to him. Thanks, Rich. Joseph J, what's going on, Joseph? Let's X and O solutions for the Josh Hart sag-off. Cat threes? Well, no, because they're just switching everything and they're playing up on Cat, so that's not it. I mean, movement helps. Purposeful ball movement, player movement, passing, not picking up your dribble, like staying active, like they do all of this stuff sometimes. But there's no one X's and O solution. You know, it's just shooting every time you're open an X's and O solution. You know, took 9 threes tonight. You know, like, and like, again, I think the closest thing you're going to get, and Benji has talked about this repeatedly, run plays for Cat. If you run specifically designed plays to Cat to try to spring him either for drives or for threes, you know, you could do that. You're allowed to do that. They don't do it. Or they don't do it nearly as often as they could. Thanks, Joseph. Mike Lasowski. I hope I got that right. Thank you for the very generous super chat, Mike. Really appreciate this. This game crushed me because I was really skeptical all season. The second half of Game 4 made me finally buy in. Then tonight happened. I was disgusted with the effort from both players and coach. It was unacceptable. I don't mean to say that. I was going to say it's funny. It's not funny. It's fucking atrocious. What I was going to say, it's funny. This was my reaction after Game 4 of the Detroit series. Game 5 of the Detroit series broke me. And you could tell from my reaction that night. You could tell from the newsletter that I wrote for the next day. I was like, you had a 3-1 series lead. You had a freaking home game to close it out, and you go out there and you play like dog shit. And I actually think they played worse in Game 5 against Detroit than they played tonight. That's me. My 2 cents. I think they played worse that night than they did tonight. But you agree to disagree. And they're certainly playing a better team tonight. And maybe, I don't know, this might be a controversial statement. I think the Celtics without Tatum are absolutely a better team than the Pistons. I'm sure I don't know that anything I'm saying 2 hours and 15 minutes into a post game is going to get aggregated. And I don't know that if it was, there's anybody here that cares enough to aggregate it. But that's probably a hot take. But not in my mind, it isn't. So, but yeah, you're like how you're feeling right now is how I was feeling after Game 5 against Detroit. So I don't blame you. Thanks, Mike. T. Doyle. Tibbs, when asked about leaving the starters in during the terrible third quarter, just searching. Yeah, I mean, don't pay any attention to what he actually says. If you give Tibbs true serum, he'll talk your ear off for 20 minutes about why he did that. He will always have reasons. It does not mean the reasons are right. And it does not mean the reasons aren't and shouldn't be incredibly frustrating. But he's never going to give you anything. So I wouldn't go by that. Thanks, T. Doyle. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. Very generous of you, Kevin. Thank you. My macro take, hate to say it, is that the Tatum injury really opens up the window for the Knicks. Either you win it all and bring everything back, or if you lose the next 2 rounds, major decisions need to be made. Let's have the macro conversations after they're eliminated. Do I think this might wind up being the Knicks' best opportunity to win a championship in this era? I do. I think this might be their best opportunity to win a championship in this era. Might be. As I watch Julius Randle score another basket. I think we're done with Super Chat, so I'm just going to go ahead and give a shout-out because there's been a lot of cat frustration tonight. So it seems only fair to check in on how the guy who he was traded for is doing. First of all, Dante DiVincenzo, 5 of 7 tonight for 13 points. Julius Randle, 29 points on 13 of 18 shots, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Does have 5 turnovers, but yeah, 29 on 18 shots in 40 minutes for Julius Randle. As the Wolves look like they are going to successfully close out the Warriors in Game 5. So just throwing that out there. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Please like this video. Subscribe to the Knicks Film School YouTube channel. We just crossed 25,000 subscribers today. Shout out to everyone who has helped make that happen. Most of all, you people who watch what we do here and subscribe and all those things. If you're listening to this in podcast form, if you're not sick to your stomach over this loss, take an extra second, give us a 5-star rating, write a review. We appreciate those things very much. I will be back on Friday after the game, hopefully with a smile on my face. We'll see. And play back on Friday too. Okay. See everybody later. Peace out.